What's up, everybody? Welcome along to Sunday night's late night agenda. As always, I'm your host Craig, and it is my absolute pleasure to be here with you amazing people. I hope you're all well. What a day it's been. Sun is shining. I was watching some of the Clash of the Creators stuff earlier on. Great to see the lads enjoying themselves, playing some footy, and yeah, well done to everybody involved. It looked absolutely brilliant. So how are we all feeling? Loads of stuff to get through as always. Look, it's a bit quiet, but we'll entertain ourselves. We'll have a bit of fun. And most importantly, do keep your comments coming in, ladies and gentlemen, because as you know, this is an interactive show, and we ain't shit without you, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, keep it coming. Right, hello to Rahan, hello to Kate, hello to the Mog, Addison, Andrew, Brian, everybody else that's in the chat, the Hungarian Hustler, that's a class name, mate, well played. I hope you're all well. Loads to get through. As always, I waffle for the first minute or two because I'm aware people are only getting notifications and coming on, and, you know, I like to think people are scrambling for their phones and their computers to come on and have a bit of fun. What's up, my man, says Saeed, nothing but love, buddy, all good at my end, I hope all is good with you. Diogo, nice to see you, fella. Proper Ginger Gaming, nice to see you in as well, mate. How are you? It's weird, every time I see your name, Proper Ginger Gaming, I think of my son, because he's ginger and he plays computer games a lot, so I imagine he'll have some type of a similar name down the line. Bernadette Farrell, always lovely to see you in as well. Rehan, you're a poopy pants. Well, it happens to the best of us, mate. You know, we've all been there, nothing to be ashamed of. Carry on, fella, carry on. Hope you're well, said Josh. Yeah, I'm great, folks, having a great day today. I was scrambling for my phone, say Christian, you love to see it, mate, well played. What's the shirt? It's an old LAFC shirt, mate. It's a few years old now. It's just I wasn't getting changed. I was wearing it all day and I thought, look, I'm not getting changed. You know, I love you guys, but not enough to go upstairs and get changed for the stream. Hi Craig, should I join? Mbappe, of course you should, Killian. There's always a place for you at the club, fella. We need a pacey winger, so well, come on, Killian. You know, I'll give you a triple chew if you do join, Killian. Right, look, where do we want to start, ladies and gentlemen? There we are, 2 seconds. Dusan Vlahovic. I was wondering how long it would be before somebody put up the fact that he scored, what was it, 7 or something today in that ridiculous win, that one-sided 11-0 game or whatever it was of Fiorentina against some, you know, Serie D part-timers. We scored 7.5 or something. I said it before and I'll say it again. From what I know, I don't know if I don't know that Liverpool are genuinely going to move for the guy, but he's certainly up there with a list of names around Europe who is an undoubted talent, somebody who knows where the goal is, but I don't know. I'm always nervous around links to Italian players, if I'll be honest with you. But I'm in the dark as much as you guys are on a lot of this stuff. Well, you know, whatever little bits I do have or get, I always share. But genuinely, I'm honest and say that you know, I just read up on stuff. Am I a kit collector? Kind of, mate. Yeah, I am. I like to think of myself as more of a chav than a kit collector. But yeah, I've got hundreds of football shirts, mate. I mean, it's all I really wear. Them and polo shirts. Walter White said Fabinho Scouse accent. Mate, I'm telling you, and I'm sure you probably agree with me, it was pretty damn good. So if you haven't heard Fabinho's, someone said to him, you know, speak a bit of Scouse to us on an Instagram, and it was brilliant. Fair play to him. Far better Scouse accent than I could ever do. I genuinely thought he nailed it. I don't know what everybody else thought, but I thought he absolutely nailed it. No, Vlahovic isn't Italian, mate. I just mean playing in Serie A. Sorry. No, he's not Italian. I meant playing in Serie A more than the Italian thing. Yeah, my bad. What are my favourite kits this season? A lot of them are shy, mate. I'll be honest with you. Like, I think you're a Barca fan from the chat, and you know I'm a Barca liker. Let's put it that way. I'm a Liverpool fan, but you know I think that Barcelona shirt this year is an absolute abomination. Whereas I think that is it the Spurs away shirt, the black one that has like the splatters on it? I think that's brilliant. I do love a mad shirt, but yeah, some awful ones. Right, look, let's get into talking about players and whatnot. But before we do, I want to just bring this up, ladies and gentlemen, because regular viewers or long-term viewers of Anfield Agenda will know that I love me a bit of their Spiegel, and I love me a bit of their Spiegel for varying reasons, but mainly because originally they were the ones that really broke the whole Manchester City potential financial doping, potential, you know, football washing story, and the leaked documents that led to the investigation by UEFA and now the Premier League. Now, the reason I bring this up is not because I have any more information. I just want to say to you guys, have a look on Twitter if you're on there, and I'll never probably utter these words again, but check out the Daily Mail, who have done some truly fantastic investigative journalism around the whole sneakiness and slyness and quietness of the way that Manchester City have managed this whole investigation over the last 2 years by the Premier League, and the lengths that they've gone to try and keep it all hush. So again, usually when we speak about the Mail, you know, we are often critical, but I always give credit where it's due, and that there's a brilliant thread actually on Twitter. Let me just get the name of the thread up for you so I can tell you where to go and look at it for yourselves. 1 second. Sorry, I just have about 50 things pop up when I open my phone. I'm just going through all my own tweets. You can go onto my Twitter as well, it's on there. But where is it? Sorry. Where is this? Nick Harris. So if you're looking on Twitter, it's at Sporting Intel. Nick Harris has a brilliant thread on Twitter that goes through and also links to the Mail story so you can have a full read of it. Now, look, it is a good 10-15 minutes reading, but if you're like me and you're fascinated by this whole scenario and the underbelly of the sports world, it is definitely worth having a read of, because it's a good piece of journalism, and, you know, fair play to them for doing it, and I definitely urge you to go have a look at it. I'm not going to say one way or the other, because I am not qualified to talk about it, but what I will say is a lot of us thought that maybe this was dead and buried, and it looks like there might be another few twists and turns to go in it. City will pay themselves out of any problem, said Jensk. See, that's part of why this is so important. So, basically, again, I'm very wary of saying anything in case I get it wrong, but it looks like judges have declared that it's in the public interest for this information to be out there, and the Mail were the only reporters allowed in the court when the latest set of findings or rulings by the judge was handed down, and it goes into a lot more detail. I definitely urge you guys to go and have a read of it if you've any interest in that sort of thing. If you don't, by all means, but for me, look, I've been very loud about my disdain, not for Manchester City fans, not for the players, not for the manager, but for the way that that club has been brought to prominence. And I'm the same about PSG. And look, you can call me salty, you can slag me and call me whatever the fuck you want, that is your right. But it is also my right to sit here and say, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's most likely a motherfucking duck. And to me, this whole scenario has stunk to high heavens for a very long time, and I'm intrigued to see how it all works out. And again, nothing to do with the players, the manager, or the fans. I've no row or beef with any of them. But in my head, I always look at Manchester City and PSG as an irrelevance and a pest rather than a rival. So to me, Manchester United and Everton are Liverpool's two big rivals. I've never really had this rivalry with Manchester City in my head, because I don't judge anything they do as legitimate in my own head. Honestly, I don't. I just think it stinks to high heaven, and it always has done. And I'm being very consistent on that, and it's probably cost me some viewers and probably cost me some chances, but I don't care. I am nothing if not honest, and I always give you guys my honest opinion, and this to me fucking stinks. Paul, when is the window going to close? Didn't we change it so it closes before the first game of the season, which if it's the case would be the 13th of August? What are the City fans saying about all of this? I don't know, Liz, because I haven't really got into it on Twitter, because Twitter's not the place for me to try and find the type of people I'd like to interact with about this. I will just get abused, so I read other people's work on it, because look, you know, I haven't got the patience, the intelligence, or the inclination to go in depth as much as Der Spiegel or as much as the Mail here in this scenario has, but definitely very interesting reading if you're into that type of thing. Hey Craig, is that LAFC? I thought that was the away team shirt. Big up you, Jude Bellingham incoming 2022. Did somebody hear a triple chew there, Victor? Choo choo choo! Yeah, thank you, mate. It is an LAFC shirt. I've got loads of different MLS shirts, mate. I've got an LAFC one. I've got a Timberwolves one. I've got an Orlando one. I've got a Seattle Sounders one. I want the new purple Seattle Sounders one for this season, the Jimi Hendrix one. But yeah, I just love football shirts, mate. So, the only ones that I won't ever pay out money for are other Premier League shirts. And I'll never wear other clubs' Premier League shirts. But yeah, thank you for the super chat, mate. Very kind of you, Victor. Lovely to see you back in, mate. And I hope that you and yours are well over in Canada. Do you think Arsenal will get top 4? No, I don't. No dig, no joke forthcoming. Genuinely, no, I don't. Right, let's move on to talk a little bit about this dude here, Renato Sanches. So everything has been rather quiet on all fronts around Renato Sanches recently, from what I've been reading. Now, here's my take on this scenario. I look at the situation in Barcelona right now, and I see that they're frantically looking to move on the likes of Antoine Griezmann, Felipe Coutinho, and some other high-earning players of the club for very, very obvious reasons, while at the same time looking at other players maybe available like Sergio Busquets and people like Piqué who've already deferred or taken wage cuts. And I wonder if they're looking at the future and going to sit back and see how this window pans out. And I think we might see a late move for Renato Sanches from Barcelona. Now look, that's no secret that they want to sign Renato Sanches or that they've been linked with him. I'm not breaking anything here. What I'm saying is, if I look at their midfield now, and I see Frankie de Jong, and I see Pedri, and then I see older players like Pjanic and that who are going to be moved on or are told they're surplus to requirements, I think that them going out and signing a Renato Sanches for 20-25 million quid on a relatively low wage is probably the best outcome that they could hope for in this window. So that's why I think it's gone quiet. I think maybe he's holding out for that potential move. But then that kind of brings me full circle around to the question of where's the Liverpool midfielder links to? And to this, I've gone back and forth. I've wrestled on it. I'm thinking, is it quiet on Neuhaus because we're still in for him, or is it quiet on Neuhaus because the reasons I spoke about before, that Neuhaus may be going to Bayern Munich a year down the line. We know Saul is attracting a lot of attention from the Premier League. Liverpool and United have been linked with him. And it's no news that United are probably going to sign a midfielder by the looks of that. Camavinga, I've read that he has his heart set on a move to Spain, even though my personal thought process was that he may well end up at PSG. So look, there's a lot of stuff in the air at the minute. We still don't know what's going on with Haaland. United have the Pogba situation. Harry Kane saying apparently there's a piece put out there today that Harry Kane might, not that he might be back late from the Euros, but that he might, how do I phrase this? It might be better for him to miss the start of the Premier League campaign so as not to cause a distraction. I believe is in a roundabout way what I read today, in trying to force through a move for him away from the club. So a lot of interesting stuff happening at the minute, and I think it's going to be quiet around Renato Sanches in particular, because I have a feeling he and Barcelona may be holding out for each other. But then again, it's quiet on Liverpool's perspective as well. So let's just wait and see. That's just my 2 cents on that scenario. Bradley Fricker, how are you, my man? Said, got ticket to the Bilbao pre-season match. Praying to see a few minutes from a new signing. Also, nearly 9 months of being a member. Highly recommended, guys. Well, firstly, mate, congrats on getting the tickets to the game. That's going to be class. Delighted to see you and other fans back inside the stadium. And I will join you in saying I hope that there's a new signing or two in there for you to see, fella. There's always a Sanchez, says Jensk. Yes, there is, mate. There's always a bleeding Sanchez somewhere, isn't there? Yeah, I get it. You're right. So, what are we thinking here on this one, on the Renato Sanches situation? I mean, you've heard my little 2 cents on it. Now I want to know what you guys think on it. Do you think that Liverpool are playing coy? Because, it's very few consistent things have been reported around our transfer business over the past month or two, but what has always seemingly been consistent is that an attacking player is a priority and a midfielder is next on the list. And we're starting to move players on. We spoke about this over the last couple of days. We've seen Wilson now join Fulham. That I believe the Wilson fee is deferred for a year. But interestingly enough, Liverpool have got a 15% sell-on clause in Harry Wilson's deal there with Fulham. We've seen Marco Grujic go to Porto. We've seen Union Berlin snap up Tawioni. We've seen Grabara and Lee Miller move on as well. So we brought in 30 to 35 million pound there or thereabouts so far, which some will say covers Canade, I know, but it also does mean that we're starting to move along in the process, because that was always being reported as the case. Let's see who we can move on, what squad places are available, how much money we have, and who's available in the market. So I'm intrigued, and I put out a tweet today that some people have agreed with, some people have disagreed with, and that's sound, because it is all opinion at the end of the day, where I said it's gone so quiet now that I kind of have a feeling in my gut, not based on any knowledge, that we might see something happen over the next 7 days. Because as I always say to you guys, quietness around Liverpool transfers isn't necessarily always a bad thing. Sometimes it's quiet and then bang, 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 signings done. So I'm intrigued. I'm a little bit more upbeat perhaps than I was over recent days. Any Saul news, Craig, in this stream? They're all linked, Vitmir. And, you know, when I say news, I'm not going to be coming on here and telling you he's going to sign or he isn't going to sign, because until somebody I trust tells me that, I won't say it to anybody else, because it's not the way I work. You know, I don't come on here and, you know, tell lies. This isn't an ITK channel. This is a let's bring names to the conversation and trade stories and trade information, and we try and come to a consensus on whether we think it's achievable or realistic. And, you know, sometimes we'll disagree, sometimes we'll agree, but you know what? Isn't that part of the fun? So yes, there will be a conversation around it, mate, but there won't be any, you know, earth-shattering news that I'm going to come out and tell you a pack of lies because I want you to hit the subscribe button. Now, I do want you to hit the subscribe button, so please do. Drop a like on the video and keep your comments coming as well. But I won't lie to you to get the subscriber, but they get you to subscribe. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Malin to BVB confirmed. I mean, you know, I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I have been telling you that for weeks. You know, I downplay my own stuff at times, but, you know, what have I told you guys, regular viewers of the channel, for the past couple of weeks around Daniel Malin? Even going back more than a couple of weeks, he's probably going to end up at Borussia Dortmund for the reasons that I've said and for the reasons that many of us believed and have come to fruition. So, yeah, Kessie links. Let's have a chat around Frank Kessie, because it is interesting. And I read an article today that said that he was one of 4 midfielders that are most mentioned around Liverpool recently. So what do we know about Frank Kessie? Well, we know he's a good footballer. I think everybody will agree on that one. We know that he's got 1 year left on his AC Milan contract, and if my ageing memory is correct, I think he's 24 years of age, but don't hold me to that one. Don't hold it against me if I'm wrong. And look, he's been an integral part of AC Milan getting back into the Champions League. I'm always more wary of links to Italy, to Italian-based players for us than other leagues, and that could be my own flawed sense of insecurity around signing somebody from Italy. It could be based in nothing other than that, but to me, Frank Kessie doesn't make sense because he's got 1 year left. I feel it sounds more like let's get AC Milan back to the table. Now look at it from AC Milan's point of view. So they've got Ibrahimovic on another deal. They've lost Donnarumma on a free to PSG. And Frank Kessie and his agent, again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, will know only too well Frank Kessie's value to AC Milan, and that the last thing that they're going to want to do is see that fella leave on a free, on a Bosman in a year's time and go off elsewhere and, you know, play good football somewhere else. So I have a feeling it will get resolved and that he will sign on at AC Milan and he'll continue to play there. That's my own take on it. But we are linked. I cannot deny that we're linked to him. I just think he'll stay at AC Milan. That's my 2 cents on it. Rory said, Craig, as an outsider, Kessie's attitude stinks in my opinion. I wouldn't know, mate, about his attitude. I only see fleeting glimpses of Italian football, really. I mean, I watch Juventus quite a bit because they're in the Champions League, and I tune into Serie A for some of the big games. But what I will say is that AC Milan were quite impressive. Now, not as impressive as their neighbours Inter Milan, who of course went and won Serie A this year, and stopped Juventus from continuing on their March, was it 10 they were heading for as well this year, or similar to the situation up in Scotland. By the way, congratulations to the Rangers today for beating Real Madrid 2-1. I mean, it's pre-season, you don't read too much into it, but still that's a nice little achievement for Stevie G and his boys there. Thoughts on Jared Bowen? I understand the links. I'm not saying they're not the sexiest links in the world, and I'm not saying that it's absolutely the right or wrong thing, but I do understand the links to Jared Bowen for a few reasons. Had a good season with West Ham, no denying that. He's in the right age bracket, I think 23, 24, something like that, Bowen. In a position that we are looking to strengthen in. Would tick another box for the homegrown quota. So I can see a lot of potential pluses, and I can also see a few little niggly negatives because I think there's better options available. Pedro Neto would be further along up my list of priorities, although he is still out injured. And as I said, I will be talking to Dave as a party from Talking Wolves during the week, and we'll delve a little bit deeper into where Neto is in his recovery and stuff like that. Cody said, how are you, Cody, mate? Nice to see you in. Said, what about Rafinha? From what I've been told and from what I've read, we don't have an interest in Rafinha, which shocked the shit out of me, fella, because we'd seen so many links to Rafinha. But it was weird because I'd always said we'd seen so many links and we'd discussed these links, but I was also honest to say that all the links that I'd seen suggested that he was more than happy to stay at Leeds for another year because, he obviously likes working with Bielsa, who's a fantastic manager. Leeds are a club looking to consolidate their position in the Premier League and build towards re-establishing themselves at the top of the table. So, I never thought there was a reason for him to leave after one season. So when I heard that we weren't actually interested, but we were looking at him and monitoring him, we will monitor probably hundreds and hundreds of players at any one time. So great player, but I just don't think there's any genuine truth to us potentially making a bid for him. Are Liverpool interested in Neto? Said Rob Salmon. Thank you for the super chat, Rob. And the answer is yes. Liverpool are definitely very interested in Pedro Neto. Whether that turns into a bid this summer because of his injury situation, or we play the long game and look towards January or next summer, that, mate, I can't tell you. But players in the Premier League that I know that we've been looking around at, himself and Harvey Barnes are two names. I didn't know anything about Jared Bowen. That absolutely was a shock to me when I seen that one come out from James Pearce and The Athletic, who of course know what they're talking about. So Jared Bowen was one I hadn't got a clue on, but yes, to Neto, we are definitely interested in Pedro Neto, and I think he'd be a perfect fit. And always keep in mind when we're talking about Pedro Neto or Portuguese players, we have somebody with extensive knowledge of Portuguese football in Pep Linders, who worked with Porto, helped bring through the likes of Ruben Neves and that when he was an underage player through to the first team and to captain Porto. So we've got a great fella there that has a good list, and I imagine, I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine that Pedro Neto, being Portuguese and being at Wolves, that he's probably signed to the Gestafew agency, which is George Mendes' agency, who also brought you such great hits as Diogo Jota joins Liverpool and Fabinho joins Liverpool. So we've got a good relationship with that agency as well, having worked well with them. I think you probably remember the pictures of when Fabinho signed Deco, former Barcelona, Chelsea and Brazilian player, was one of the agents involved at the time in that deal as well. So we've got a good working relationship with that agency, so that's why I think there could be a lot more to that. I just don't know if it'll be this summer because of his injury. What's happening with Bissouma? Your guess is as good as mine, Ghost Wolf. All I can say is Bissouma is another player that I'd have absolutely no issues if we signed, because I can see every reason to sign him. I can see how he could come in and do a job that Genie did, and I love his attributes, and I've no doubt about the lad's ability. Right age bracket, Premier League experience, loads of boxes ticked. But it has gone quiet, you're right, and I don't know how much Brighton are going to want to lose. They're losing Ben White for 50 million quid. Are they going to want to lose Basuma as well? Because Brighton are a club with a good manager in Potter, looking to, try and play football in the right way. They'll have Tariq Lamptey coming back in as well. So I don't know how much of their established players they're going to be willing to lose. So I would imagine, again, the price of Basuma will probably be the most likely thing that would put us off, rather than the lad's ability. Now, I'm not saying that this is what we want to hear, but that's my 2 cents on it. But I would have him at Liverpool, no problem. Any news about Hendo's contract? No. As we've seen, Hendo is doing a bit of he's on his holidays, but he's still doing some training in Mallorca at the minute. No, nothing that I'm aware of. And, I'm just glad that no more stuff is out there in the media about it, because I think ideally you want these things sorted one way or the other in-house, and stuff not to go public. And I think what made it more worrying for a lot of us around Hendo was that that's not a game Hendo plays. He doesn't court publicity. He doesn't do the run into the media stuff. It's not his way. So I was, again, very shocked and upset on his behalf, because I think Jordan Henderson deserves and should be treated with the height of respect. He's the club captain after all. Perfect for a false 9. Olmo, said P. Look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Danny Olmo, again, another player who I like, and a lot of boxes ticked there again, mate. But, we're all going to be just sitting here playing the guessing game until something happens. And right now, it seems that the plan is to try and keep moving on a few more players. Origi's available, I think Shaqiri's available. Maybe 1 or 2 loans for younger players to sort out. The likes of Musialowski seemingly is going to stay with the 23s, which is good news, because Klopp will want to keep an eye on him. We'll see. I really love the link up, as I said, between Harvey Elliott and Salah out on that right hand side, and we'll also start to hear, I believe, over the coming weeks, more of these contract renewals. So the Alissons, the Fabinhos, the Van Dijks, hopefully Mohamed Salah, they're getting talked about behind the scenes as well. So the club generally like to deliver good news in a bundle, or a couple of things really quickly. So I'm hoping that we see some contract renewals at least very soon. Liverpool ain't going to sign no more players this season. How am I supposed to take that seriously? Like, no context whatsoever, and you just said Liverpool ain't going to sign no more players this season. So, like, linguistically, it's ridiculous for a start, but theoretically, it's probably even more ridiculous when it's very well known that Liverpool want to sign 2 more players this season. So I don't know, perhaps, mate, if you're a downbeat Liverpool fan, or if you're an opposition fan who, just wants to come in and spread a bit of negativity around, fella. But what I'll say to you is, I believe we'll sign at least 1, probably 2, maybe even, hopefully, you never know, 3 before the window closes. And I'm more confident in what I'm saying than I am in what you're saying, because I know my way of thinking for it, but I have no context to what you just said, fella. Chiesa 86 million bid. It's just a lie. Simply, it's bullshit. Like, when I say Chiesa's £86 million bid is nonsense, it's not because I don't rate Chiesa. It's because I'm realistic. Do you not think if Liverpool had submitted an £86 million bid to Juventus for Chiesa, that perhaps, maybe just one of the UK-based journalists may have had some type of insight into the scenario? Not a thing. The only reports have been coming out of Italy, and it just speaks and screams to high heaven to me of Juventus just trying to say, you're not getting any of our players, and then, but nobody asked kind of thing. So, in a time when we're hearing we've got no money, the fact that would smash our transfer record by, £11 million would very, 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 very much shock me. So I don't believe that to be true in any way. I think, right to be looking at him, definitely, of course, tracking loads of good players, and you should be, but absolute poo-poo of the highest order. Mount Vesuvius is where I put that, right up the top of Mount Vesuvius. Basically, whoever put that article out there, in my opinion, has an awful case of type 2 diabetes, and that's just my personal opinion on it. I'm not the be all and end all by all means, but you know what I said earlier, it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's most likely a motherfucking duck. So yeah, to me, again, an awful case of type 2 diabetes for this one. Right, no way we lose Genie Henderson and Al Milner in the same window. Milner's not going anywhere. That never was, never will be. Was always going to stay for the same window for this 1 year that he's left. I hope you're right about Henderson, mate. Long Bomb Silver, that's a class name, mate. Well played. A lot of you guys have great names, by the way. Big up you and your chatter, Babush. Good show. Thank you very much. Lots of love to you as well. Jens, always nice to see you in, fella. Even though you are a United fan, I won't hold that against you, Jens. You're one of the good ones. Was the Chiesa bid real? Well, I think you probably typed that before I answered it, mate. So I'm hoping that you've heard my answer. Right, what else we want to talk about? This gentleman. This is very interesting, the situation with Saul, because I think United maybe don't know what their scenario is. So Paul Pogba is doing his usual Paul Pogba, Mina Raiola double act of, you know, oh, PSG want me and I've got 1 more year left and oh, I might move. And I'm sure United fans are sick of that scenario, because I know I'd be banging my head against the wall if it was a Liverpool scenario. So it looks like that Pogba will leave for free again, from what I've seen from United channels and United people posting on Twitter. I don't claim to be up to date on it. I'm just, you know, catch a little bit on my feed every now and again. So it looks like they will probably be keeping an eye on the midfielder market regardless. They probably needed a CDM at one point, but they're probably keeping their eyes on the midfield scenario. And Saul has certainly been linked to Manchester United. And from what seems to be coming from his camp and from Spain, and again, I'll reach out to my guy who was having a week's holiday, so I didn't want to pester him, but I'll reach out to him in the next day or two. You know who I'm talking about, but I don't want to name drop, because, you know, that's not how I am. Yet. I'm going to get worse, though. And see if there's any movement there. But, again, for me, you know, I apologise for saying this again, but I'd have absolutely no problem if Liverpool went out there and signed Saul Niguez from Atleti, because he's perfect. He's, you know, he could do a genie job. He's bulletproof injury wise, and he's battle hardened. He's very mature. He's very used to playing at the very top level. Bit of shithousery in him, and these are all positive attributes in my head, by the way. So yeah, I think he wants to move to England. The Barcelona thing was never going to happen, because it was basically a desperation move by them trying to get rid of Griezmann and his wages from their books. So yeah, we know Atleti, the deal for the guy from Udinese, Rodrigo de Paul. What I've always read and been briefed is that the fee for Saul Niguez would be about 5 million quid more than the number that the 35 million euro or so that they are paid or have. I don't even know if that deal is completed. I've kept so little attention to it, but he is going to let it go. If it hasn't been completed, it will be completed, and then Saul will be available for 5 million more. That's what I've always read and been told. What are you shouting on about here, Babosh? He said Liverpool is a small club and that it's realistic that VVG will join them. He used my name to try and make my day worse. I have no idea what that's about, mate, because I haven't read anything else from anyone claiming to be you either. Sorry, mate. Yeah, I've already talked about the nonsense 86 million Chiesa bid, Crick. It's nonsense. It's just not true. From what I believe, and everybody that I've spoke to about it, nobody had a Scooby-Doo about that one, and it hasn't been reported by anybody who I would believe. So, you know, I would say to that. So Rodrigo de Paul has signed for Atleti. Well, there you go. So then, look, Saul's 100% ready to go if anybody wants to pony up the dough and pay roughly 40 million euro for him. So he's definitely an option, and definitely an option that I'm sure we're looking at, but, you know, let's wait and see. Vitmir said, big respect to you, man. Love the streams. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing good, thank you, buddy. It's been a good day today. go to the dentist tomorrow though, so that's never a good day. But yeah, I don't even know if I'll have to have the work done tomorrow or not, but I do have a dental appointment tomorrow, so I can't guarantee if I'll be able to stream or not tomorrow night. If the dentist whips out this wisdom tooth, then I'll probably be unable to stream. If he doesn't, then I will stream. So just keep an eye on your notifications for tomorrow. Is there anything else here that I wanted to finish up this stream with this. Just a conversation that piqued my interest again, flicking through all the papers and websites today. I came across a little piece in the Echo that suggested Robbie Fowler was speaking about, don't write off this Liverpool group. They're not Dad's Army. They're not over the hill. And they probably don't need massive overhaul. And I thought, Robbie Fowler's made some good points there. And it made me think, well, let's have a chat about this tonight on the stream and see what you guys think with the sales we've made and stuff so far in the window, what we actually need or what's realistic. So over to you. Let me know, if you agree with Robbie Fowler that no massive overhaul is needed right at this minute. We've seen other stuff suggest that big overhaul could come next year. I'm always a bit wary of the next year stuff, but you can see some sense as to why it would be next year. But us as fans are impatient and often want it this year. So again, let me just know your thoughts on where and what you think we need in this window. RJM said Saul, Renato Sanches or Tielemans for midfield. I think I've spoken about all them tonight, bar Yuri Tielemans. And look, the only stuff I know about Tielemans at the moment is that he's mulling over a new contract offer from Leicester, and that, again, sources in Belgium have said that he's not reluctant about the idea of joining Liverpool, but I think he will be respectful of Leicester as well. So I genuinely don't know if we'll go much further on that. Craig, can Jack do a monthly video on our youth players and loan players? Absolutely, I'm sure Jack would. Excuse me. Jack has extensive knowledge, Mick, as you know, of the underage systems at Liverpool, and yeah, that's a great idea for a video, Mick. And I think one that Jack Gill is far better placed than me to make, and I think he'd love to do it. So yeah, I will definitely pass that on to him, Mick. Good suggestion. And yeah, there is very few people that would know more than Jack. He certainly knows a lot more than me about the under 18s, the under 23s, and the youth coming through at Liverpool. He's very knowledgeable on that. So good idea, great shout that, mate. And yeah, I'll get it in place for you, no problem. We need a backup winger and a striker and a genie replacement, said Pampy. We don't play with a striker, but I don't know if you mean winger / striker. I think you probably do, and I know what you mean, so I agree with you. We just won't be getting like a Haaland type striker, a number 9 through the middle, because, well, look, you know the system we play with, mate. So again, we'll move on from that, and a genie replacement. So I think you're right, Pampy. I agree with you on that one. P said Saul and Vlahovic. Keane said I agree with Robbie. We could do with a midfielder and maybe side forward, but a midfielder would be all right. Mark Warden said we need a clinical finisher and a midfielder. Yeah, I mean, my biggest fear, Mark, around the whole Salah stuff was, like, let's say for whatever reason the club can't come to an agreement with Mohamed Salah, and even if he doesn't move on this year, it is a big worry about if Salah doesn't have a very good season, where the hell are the goals going to come from? Because he's been extremely consistent on that front since he's come in. So somebody that can help take the goal scoring burden away, I absolutely agree on, Mark. It's a good show. We just need John Henry to pay for top players, said Robert Doyle. It's not... I'm guilty of this as well, mate, because, it's not only John W. Henry, albeit he is the principal owner of FSG, but yeah, I get where you're coming from. Are we still getting Coman? No, we were never signing Kingsley Coman, mate. I mean, the links came out straight after the Euros. Bayern Munich said that they don't want to move him, but had let it be known 90 million was a number perhaps. His father, from what I read, was somebody who was looking to maybe engineer a move to the Premier League for his son, and there was talk of 50 million at that point, but there's also somewhere in the middle some truth, and as much as I think a lot of us wouldn't mind signing him, I just don't think there's any truth to it, mate. How about Nabil Fekir? Do you really need me to answer that, mate? You do know how the whole Fekir situation ended up the last time, buddy. So no, we won't be signing Nabil Fekir ever. Barella and Neto spend big. Look, Jamie, I mean, I couldn't, yes, sign me up for that, mate, but Inter won't sell Nicolo Barella this transfer window, and aren't under as much financial stress as they were because they've moved Hakimi onto PSG. They of course have Champions League football, and Lukaku has recommitted his future to say he wants to stay there. He's feeling happy there. So yeah, as much as I'd love Barella, mate, I don't think it's a runner. But Jude Bellingham next summer, you know, the only ever Anfield agenda, choo choo choo, triple chew. When is the first video on Craig Station? I'm recording with Al Foran Impressionist on Wednesday. I am waiting to hear back from Pieface about when he's going to be available to record. I don't even know if I told you he was one of the names, but whoops, there you go. And a few other people that I'm chatting with. It's often about just availability for these guys as well, because every person that I speak to is obviously incredibly busy, and we've seen what a mental weekend it's been for Pieface with the darts and the football today, and then all the streaming and stuff. So it's just about trying to pin people down when they're free and stuff like that. Also gonna be hopefully travelling down to Cork over the next few weeks to interview somebody in person down there, something that I was meant to do a long time ago but didn't happen because of COVID restrictions and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I'll drop you the name because Irish people might know who he is or who he isn't. It's Gary Spike O'Sullivan, an Irish boxer, fought Chris Eubank Jr. at one point, has challenged for world titles, part of the Celtic Warriors gym under Paddy Collins there in Dublin, Steve Collins' brother, and somebody who, you know, I've been a fan of and getting along with on Twitter for years. And he's a funny bastard as well, most importantly. So yeah, that's another one to look forward to. So we are making moves. We're gonna try and continue to do what we do. And yeah, I'm also aware of some more challenges coming our way over the season ahead. You know, I'll keep my finger on the pulse of all things Liverpool, of course, but I also keep my finger on the pulse of the industry. And I'm aware of some people trying to put us under, shall we say. And just 2 words to them: good luck. That's all I have to say on that. Good luck. Because there's only one of me. One. And I'm here. And yeah, by the way, I know I'm humble at times and all, but I am also aware that I'm not too shabby at what I do, and I'm quite fun. So best of luck to anybody coming to have a go at the Watch Along King, because you best come fucking prepared. Craig, you're a legend. That's all I want to say. Well, that's all I want to hear, mate. So there you go. I think we will both agree on that one. Sorry for my question, but are you Irish? I used to live in Dunleary. Oh, that's cool. I lived in Dunleary as well. Yeah, I am Irish, mate. Yes. Dunleary, I know it only too well, buddy. The first flat that I moved into with my missus after my father passed away was in Dunleary. And yeah, believe it or not, I also rented a place of Bob Geldof's dad in Dunleary as well at one point, in a different location. So yeah, I grew up in Shankill, mate, which is only a few miles down the road from Dunleary. So yeah, wow, that's a small world, eh, Fabio? What midfielder are we signing? I don't know, Lil. I don't want to lie to you, mate. I've no idea which one will sign. I can tell you the ones that we've been linked with, but sure, I'm sure you already know that. Otavio, again, Kevin, gone very, very quiet there. It seemed to me like his agent was trying to marry the situation of us wanting to sell Grujic and then wanting Grujic into maybe a deal to see Otavio come the other way. So I genuinely don't know if that was agent speak or there was much truth to it at the time. We know that on the 1st of July his buyout clause increased from 40 million up to, I don't know if it's 60 million, I can't remember, but it's gone quiet definitely. So again, I would say probably not much happening there. Are you FSG out? I don't think. Well, The big answer is probably yes, but it's not a simplistic question where I could just sit here and go, yeah, I'm FSG out, screw everything they've ever done, they've never done anything good to the club, because that would be a lie. The same way if I sat here and said that they've only ever done good things for the club, that would be a lie. They've done some really good stuff, they've done some really stupid stuff, and everybody will have their own viewpoint and perspective on this. So I suppose the big plus points are the club is in a steady financial place. We've won a Premier League and a Champions League. We've got the new main stand. The Annie Road End is going to be done. We've got Klopp. The new training ground was done. Some rejuvenation around Anfield as well. New club store. So they're the plus points. They're the positives. The negatives are pretty big negatives at times as well. So the ESL, the European Super League fiasco, was the final nail for a lot of Liverpool fans, myself included, in the do I really have any trust left in the owners? And the answer to that is no. Big picture, I have no trust that they are only looking out for the business themselves and that they couldn't give a shit about Liverpool. But then again, should I be surprised by that? Should or would any club owner really care? There are a few examples of ones that do, of course. Leicester City's owner seems to really care, seems to really want to build a legacy there and honour his father before him and the work that they were doing. And, we look at that from the outside and go, that's really lovely and really nice and they treat their fans so well, which they do. But they've got the £77 ticket fiasco. You've got the furloughing of staff. You've got the treatment of some former legends and some players. So there aren't a simple yes or no answer to this. I think it's a far wider ranging conversation that has nuances to it. And for me being a lippy gobby lad around match watch alongs and stuff like that, I like to think I'm a semi-intelligent person who can see that there's there's some grey area in between the black and white, and the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. But to me, my own personal thing was, I don't have any trust left after the Super League fiasco. Everything about that, from the bullshit apology to the way the apology was shot, to the handling of the situation, to who they were in it with, to the fact that it seemed to be something they were building towards for a long time, to the fact that they wanted to ruin the culture of European football and take away the right and the ability to qualify or not qualify. None of that sat well with me, and none of that is in the ethos of what I believe football should be about. So I guess the answer would be I would be FSG out, but I would very, very, very much urge caution to the next ownership group of who they might be, because the days of, Johnny Local, done well, goes boys football club, they're probably over, because they're multi-billion-pound companies now, and you only get investment firms, country-backed investment, hedge funds, all the words we don't like hearing, or oil barons, or whatever you want to use. So in an ideal world, yeah, but what comes next? That's, I suppose. But then again, that fear is maybe something that will always kind of keep some of us in line as well. So it's a very multi-tiered answer, and you probably just expected me to go yes, I know, but in the big picture, yes, but could be a lot worse, could be a lot better. So they're not the worst owners out there by a long stretch, but the Super League fiasco, for me on a personal level, was the thing that really pushed me over the edge of no trust anymore. Don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth. Actions certainly speak louder than words to me. We could have worse owners like Kroenke, absolutely. And, for whatever we say about FSG, they haven't saddled the club with debt. They aren't siphoning off a load of money. They will make their money at the sale of the club long term, and they will make a shit ton of it. But I've always been alright with that. The only things that have really wound me up are feeling that the manager's not getting the support that I think he should, because we're in a time where we're very, very lucky to have, in my opinion, the best manager we could possibly have at Liverpool Football Club. And I want Jurgen Klopp's time at Anfield to be looked back on in 20-25 years as an absolute dynasty with a shitload of trophies, and Liverpool pushing on and announcing herself back at the very top table of world football. And I think that I've seen a bit of frustration in Klopp at times that makes me, from an outsider view, feel like they could do more to help him. And at the end of the day, I only care about the players on the pitch, the manager and the fans, and that's all that I really give a shit about. So I want the manager to be happy, I want the performances to be there, and of course I don't want the club to go under. So I hope that gives a well-rounded view on my take on it all. Which two players would I take at Liverpool? No budget. Mbappe and Haaland, probably the easiest question you'll ever ask me. Then Jude Bellingham. Who do I think is worse between FSG and the Glazers? Oh, 100% the Glazers, without any shadow of a doubt. 100% the Glazers are worse owners than FSG, in my opinion. 100%, without blinking. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But it's also very difficult to compare the two because one's a publicly traded company on the stock exchange and one's a privately owned company. But we ain't saddled with a debt. So our owners came in and bought the club with the money they had. They didn't go and take out a huge loan to leverage up against the club like a huge mortgage, which would take massive repayments, and then have on top of that shareholders that they have a fiduciary responsibility to pay as well. So it's comparing apples and oranges, really. Who do you think will buy at the end of the window? I'm so scared to say a name because I don't know. Colours to the mask, I think Saul or Sanches probably the most likely in the midfield scenario. And when it comes to the wide player, I genuinely don't have a clue. I mean, Doku's gone ridiculously quiet. Harvey Barnes has gone quiet. Neto, again, could you sign somebody who mightn't be back playing till October now? Would you take that risk? What if he has a setback? There's so many negative aspects to that possibility, which is why I want to sit down with Dave from Talking Wolves and have a chat around, he's far more clued up on Neto than I would be. And then you've got the Jared Bowen stuff that, none of us knew. We've even seen Ismail Assar links over the past few weeks, and I don't know how or why they came back around because we got our answer when we went knocking for him when we signed Diogo Jota. So, if we couldn't get him then, I don't see how or why we'd get him now when they're back up in the Premier League. Am I worried about Sancho? No, not really. No, not as a particular. Am I worried that it strengthens United as a whole? Well, yes, of course. Anytime our rivals strengthen, of course I'm going to be a bit concerned. But I also believe deeply in the group of players that we have at the football club and the manager we have. And I think that our first 11 can go up against anybody. But, it's never good to see a rival strengthening. And when you see Chelsea and, Manchester City looking to do the same, yeah, of course, you then want your club to act as well. But there's still time to act. So, am I worried about Sancho? Not in a singular perspective, but as a strengthening United, yes. What's happening with City? I would say, Ethan, best to do, mate, is to go and read that thread by Nick Harris at Sporting Intel on Twitter, and there's a link to the Mail article, and look, I know, even me saying go read the Daily Mail doesn't sit right with me, because usually I would have a different opinion on the Mail, but I have to give credit where it's due. The investigative journalism on this is top notch, so I would certainly urge you to go and check out at Sporting Intel, who's Nick Harris. Read the thread that he put up around it. I mean, will I read the thread to you? Is that okay? I'm happy to do it. I have it open here in front of me. If you guys, give me a thumbs up if you want me to go through the thread before we finish up. I'm happy to do it. I don't want to take anything away from Nick. It's Nick's work. But if you want me to go through the thread, I have it open here. I'm happy to read it out. Grand. Okay, let's start off then. So, again, Nick Harris at Sporting Intel. If you want to read it yourself, please do go and check out his tweet here. So it said, when Man City won their appeal against the Court of Arbitration for Sport last summer to have their 2-year Champions League ban overturned, like most people, I thought that would be the end of the FFP tribulations. And then he says, a shortish tread. So the next one goes, but earlier this year, we learned the Premier League and Manchester City FC had been in a legal battle lasting more than 2 years, with the Premier League demanding all kinds of documents and info, and Manchester City FC refusing to comply, taking all sorts of legal action to prevent the disclosure. Legal gags prevented us back in April from reporting Manchester City FC and the Premier League had been in a 2-year legal fight, but the MOS eventually got a judge to rule that in the interests of open justice, i.e. transparency, we could attend the court and hear details if not report on them. On Tuesday of last week, finally 3 of Britain's most senior judges ruled that Manchester City FC's secret legal battle with the Premier League over alleged breaches of Premier League rules could be made public. We, the MOS, had been present in court to witness this unfold. Then he said, my colleague Dan Matthews was the reporter in court who can now legally share the experience, and then there's a link to the article. There are developments. Rui Pinto, the key figure in the Football Leaks movement, you probably remember his name being thrown around at the time of the Der Spiegel article, has done a deal with the Portuguese judicial system whereby he has turned over millions of documents to potentially help investigations into criminal activity. Pinto had been since under house arrest, but since last August, his trial is still ongoing for 90 alleged offences. He is at liberty in a witness protection programme, and his status as whistleblower or hacker still to be decided. Here's a potential kicker for Man City's fate. Pinto's lawyers have told me, i.e. Nick Harris, he is willing to help the Premier League in any investigation into Manchester City's alleged wrongdoing. Back page of the MOS, which is of course the Mail on Sunday. And the last, almost but not least, smoking gun emails that might prove that City did and might, with an asterisk beside both of them, cheat and contradict evidence given at the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Penultimate tweet in this thread: Manchester City made 600 million from commercial income in the past decade alone, more than rivals like Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal. How? I totally, again with asterisks beside it, get the vast majority of Manchester City fans hate FFP and UEFA. That's fair enough. Like Brexit, fair-minded people can legitimately hold vastly different, sincere views, disagree with me, ask me questions, but don't shoot the messenger. So that is it, basically. And then there is, of course, the article in the Mail on Sunday, if you want to go and read that as well. So it ain't over, I think that's fair to say. And I will certainly be a keen observer of what's going on around the Manchester City situation, because I have been trying to follow it as much as I can since that Der Spiegel leak or report all that time ago. So there you go. You know, make your own mind up on it, I suppose. Did Craig just say Liverpool were signing Olmo? I absolutely did not just say Liverpool are signing Olmo. I said I'd take him, and he's the right bracket profile of player. But I don't know if we have any interest in Danny Olmo or not. Hi Craig, are we signing anybody? I believe yes, Ash. Of course, you know, until players have signed on a dotted line and are standing there with a shirt. I'm done with this rubbish. Let's just get the season started and watch footy. I mean, I'm with you on that one, Ash. I'm ready for the season to start as well. And the good news is, less than 3 weeks now till the Premier League kicks off. To City fans, this must sound like an LFC, MUFC, London conspiracy against them. See, yeah, I mean, look, if it was my club, I would of course be looking for ways to defend it, and I would be looking for ways to legitimise a lot of the stuff that's happened. That's natural, that's tribalism, that's the way football clubs and fans are. So that's why I said my issue with all of this has never been to do with Manchester City's fans or their players or their managers. It's those who own the club, because they're the ones that direct the way the club goes forward. So, you know, I'm probably going to get grief for this. I get it, but again, it's not me that's investigating it, and it ain't me that's done what's been alleged to be done. Chris Groves gives a good show here. Listen to the podcast, The Price of Football, best ever on the financial aspects of English football. Thank you for the I will definitely give that a listen, Chris. I really appreciate you taking the time to lash it in. Swiss Ramble, also another great account and site around all things football finances as well. And the Echo often have a very good football analyst or football financial analyst on there as well, whose name I mention bleeding every week on the channel, but whose name eludes me right now. I think it's Chris something. Again, sorry I can't remember the guy's name, but he's excellent as well. Might see the Rats scrambling off the City ship in January if anything comes of this, said Tom Boland. Well, look, the part about it that I find most interesting is the judge's ruling that it's a matter of public interest. So it was alarming to see that the Premier League were perhaps looking to keep things hush-hush to some extent, because one, you understand as a rational person that they don't want to damage the Premier League brand. Absolutely understand that. But on the other side, they also have to look after the interests of 19 other Premier League clubs as well. So yeah, I'll be just wait and see what happens. That's all I can say on it. Craig, would I take Varane over Canade if he did sign for you? Genuinely no. And do I rate Varane? Yes, of course. But I really, really like Canade for a whole load of different reasons. And not because I think he's better or worse than Varane. You know, he's still to be proven. It's complete roll of the dice. There are positive attributes in Canade, but he ain't the finished article. But working alongside Van Dijk and Joe Gomez and Joe Matip, I think he will turn into a truly, truly special player. And is 5 years younger than Varane, so I'm hoping will be around for quite a while. That would be my reasoning, not because I think Varane's shit or anything like that. So I'm not trying to downplay anybody else's business. I just try and think what we need and what works at Liverpool. Right, I'm going to go, ladies and gentlemen, and get a few bits and pieces done. But I will hopefully be back tomorrow, depending on how the L trip to the dentist goes. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Drop a like on the video. The first videos on Craig Station will be out in about 10 days time, so go over and subscribe to that as well. And pinned to the top of the live chat right now is our clips channel, Anfield Agenda Extra, where Connor takes the best bits of all of our streams and puts them up there in 3, 4, 5 minute chunks and stuff. So get over there and subscribe to that if you can as well. Pinned to the top of the live chat right now or in the description of the stream. But most importantly, have a cracking Sunday evening. Lots of love to you all from my family as well.